Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel Shraddha's Physics. Today we will see the Davison-Germer experiment. According to De Broglie, every moving particle is associated with a wave and this wave is called as the matter waves. Davison-Germer experimentally proved that every moving particle it is associated with a wave and that is called the matter waves. So basically he proved the De Broglie hypothesis. Here we can say that this basically gives the experimental confirmation of the matter waves. Okay. Here we can see that Davison-Germer proved that the fast moving electron, here the electrons are considered to be the particle. It's so the diffraction means the properties of the waves, and this is called the wave nature of the particle. That is, every electrons that is the particle, so the wave characteristics. Okay. So the Davison-Germer proved that the fast moving electrons, so the diffraction property or the properties of the wave, that is called the wave nature of the particle. So this is the experimental confirmation of the matter waves. Okay. Now we will draw the experimental setup of the Davison-Germer experiment. Okay. Let us consider this is the filament, or this is called the tungsten filament, which is connected to a low tension voltage source. This is the tungsten filament. Okay, tungsten filament. This is the tungsten filament. This is basically used in our bulb. This is the tungsten filament. It is connected to the, here you can see, this tungsten filament is connected to the low tension battery that is at very low potential. Okay, this is low tension battery. Okay, now in front of this tungsten filament, the barium oxide metal plate is here. The barium oxide plate is used because it has the low work function. Low work function means this barium oxide, it need the minimum energy to remove the electron from its surface. Okay, it has the low work function. This barium oxide has low work function. That is, when this barium oxide get heated because of this tungsten filament, then electron will remove from this plate. Here the thermoionic emission, we can say that because of this tungsten filament, when it is supplied with the low tension voltage, then it will get heated and it will try to remove the electrons from this barium oxide. And again, suppose in front of this barium oxide a cylinder, this is a cylinder with a fine hole in it, it is present in front of this barium oxide. Okay, barium oxide metal plate. Okay, this is the cylinder with fine hole, cylinder with a fine hole in it. Okay, now this cylinder is supplied with a high tension voltage source. This cylinder is connected to a high tension voltage source. Okay, high tension voltage source. It means that as compared to this low tension battery, it is at higher potential. So that what will happen? The electron coming from this barium oxide, they will pass through this cylinder. Actually, from this barium oxide, the electrons will get scattered in every random direction. But when it will pass through this cylinder, they will get a single direction because this high tension voltage source cylinder, it will attract the electrons that is coming from this barium oxide, and this electron will pass because of this high tension voltage source, they will get attracted towards this cylinder and they will get accelerated inside this cylinder, and because of this fine hole, it will pass through this cylinder. Okay, is that clear? Now in front of this cylindrical cylinder, if we will consider a nickel crystal is present, then what will happen? This is the nickel crystal. Okay, so the electron, that is, after accelerating through this cylinder, they will fall onto the nickel crystal, and this electron this electron that will fall onto this nickel crystal, they will get diffracted at some particular angle. Suppose this diffracted beam is captured through this. Suppose here I am drawing a circular scale. This green line here I am drawing. This is suppose a circular scale. This is actually a very large circular scale is covered to capture the diffracted beams, and this is here I am drawing. This is the movable detector. A galvanometer is connected to it. G is the galvanometer. Okay. G is the galvanometer and this one is the movable detector. This electron beam will fall into this movable detector and it will capture in every possible direction. This is the movable detector. When this will move in every possible direction through the circular scale, so it will capture the electrons that will fall onto this detector, so that the galvanometer will deflect. This galvanometer deflection will depend on the intensity of the electron. Intensity means the number of electrons that is falling onto the detector. It will depend on the deflection of the galvanometer. Suppose this angle here we are considering is suppose phi, that is the incident angle to the diffracted angle. It is suppose the phi. Okay. Now let me explain again. This is the tungsten filament which is connected to a low tension battery. This tungsten filament, it will do the thermoionic emission because of this barium oxide is present in front of this tungsten filament that is connected to the low tension battery. So this tungsten filament, when it will get heated, then it will try to remove some electron that is from the barium oxide which has the very low work function, and then the electron from this barium oxide, they will get scattered in every direction. But since this cylinder has the high tension voltage source, that is it is at the very high potential, then the electron will get passed through this cylinder and finally through this fine hole they will reach at the nickel crystal. Okay, and at this nickel crystal they will get diffracted and this will captured by the detector which will detect, and this detector will give the signal to the galvanometer, and in this galvanometer the galvanometer will read the intensity, the deflection of the galvanometer through when this will the movable detector will capture every possible direction of electron intensity, and this galvanometer will give the deflection which will show the intensity of the electron beam. Clear? Here the electrons that are being getting accelerated, these are of particle nature, but when the detector detect the signal or when the detector get this electron, it is in the form of the wave, that is the diffraction pattern we are actually getting. Is that clear to you? It means that we are getting the particle nature, we are converting this particle nature, that is the electron which has the particle nature, but it will show the properties of the wave. Clear? This is here, let me write, this is the movable detector, this is the movable detector, and G is here the galvanometer. Okay, is that clear to you? The Davisson-Germer experimentally basically proved the De Broglie hypothesis, that is every microscopic particle, it has the wave characteristics. Okay, the cylinder that is supplied with the high tension voltage source, it can be varied between some voltage, that is suppose here I am considering suppose some 40 volt to around 70 volt, if it will varies, then for a certain potential range we can get the deflection, the maximum in this galvanometer. Okay, the galvanometer will show the maximum deflection. It means that when the galvanometer will show the maximum deflection, it means that the intensity of the electron is maximum in that case. Okay, the experiment was performed at different accelerating potential, but significant intensity of the electron, it was observed around this 44 to 68 volt. Okay, within this limit we can get the maximum intensity of the electron, or the intensity means the maximum number of electrons we will get here. that is the galvanometer here will show the maximum deflection. When the intensity is high, it means that the galvanometer deflection is the maximum. When the intensity is low, the galvanometer deflection will be minimum. Okay. Here the high tension voltage source is getting varied between some potential that is 44 volt to 68 volt, or here we can say that 40 volt to near 70 volt, but at a certain, that is, it may be 60 volt like that. At that particular range, it will show the maximum deflection in the galvanometer. That means at that condition, the maximum number of electrons will reach at the detector. So the deflection of the galvanometer, it is directly proportional to the number of electrons, that is the intensity of the electrons. And the peak in the intensity of the electrons at a particular angle, it indicates constructive interference of the electron waves. Okay, this will implies for the crystal, or if we will consider the Bragg's law for the constructive interference of a crystal, we know this is suppose the plane and this pink dot, these are suppose some electrons. Okay, when the incident light will fall on this atom or when these electrons, then it will get diffracted in a particular direction. Here these are the parallel lines, or these are called the atomic layers. Okay, so when this incident light will fall on this electron, they will get diffracted in some angle. This distance, here I am showing, this distance is d. This d is called the distance between the two atomic layers. Here you can see these are the incident light and these are the diffracted beam. If I will draw, here you can see these are the electrons. Okay, these are the electrons. Now we will draw a perpendicular on this surface. Okay, this is the perpendicular on the surface. Now suppose again the perpendicular on this incident beam and the diffracted beam, here we are drawing some perpendicular. This distance here I am showing. So let us see. These are the incident beam and this is the diffracted beam. And also here you can see that the incident beam and the deflected beam. Here the angle between them is angle phi. The incident beam and the diffracted beam, the angle between them is phi. This is the incident and this one is the diffracted beam. Angle between them is the phi. Now if I draw the perpendicular between this incident beam and the diffracted beam, then this will be phi by 2, and here also the phi by 2. And the incident beam and the atomic layer, it makes an angle theta. The incident beam and the atomic layer plane, this plane, it makes an angle theta. Clear? Now here we want to calculate the path difference between these two waves. Here we can see this theta is the angle between the incident wave and the atomic plane. Here d is the distance between the two atomic layer. Here we can say this d equal to the distance between the atomic layer. Clear? Now in this Bragg's diffraction, suppose here I am writing this plane, this point is A, B and C, suppose. Okay, the light is incident in this direction, this is up to A. Okay, this line is up to A, and again this will get diffracted along this line, and from the C towards that it will get diffracted, and in between this A to B and B to C, these are the path difference, A to B and B to C. This is the path difference between the two planes, or the two lines, that is the incident beam. For the two incident beam, this is the path difference. Now from the path difference, from the Bragg's law we can write this is AB plus BC. Okay, if I will get calculate that this angle is 90 minus theta, now we will get this AB plus BC will be 2D sin theta. Clear? This angle is, this path difference is 2D sin theta. And again for the constructive interference, if I write for the constructive interference, this delta x equal to, it has the value lambda, 2 lambda 3 lambda, and so on. Okay, and so on, that is suppose n lambda. This path difference for the constructive interference, this is n lambda. Now if I will compare this path difference with this n lambda, then we will get 2d sin theta will be equal to n lambda. Is that clear? This 2d sin theta will be equal to n lambda. Now here let me write this 2d sin theta equal to n into lambda. And here if I will consider the n, this 2d sin theta is nothing but n lambda is the Bragg's law. And if you will consider for this nickel crystal, that is our, in the Davison-Germer experiment, here this d equal to 0.91 angstrom. Okay, theta plus pi by 2, theta plus pi by 2 equal to 90 degree. This theta plus pi by 2 equal to 90 degree. Here you can see this angle theta, and here this is pi by 2. This total angle is 90 degree here. Okay, now for the constructive interference, here for the nickel crystal, here I am considering suppose phi equal to 50 degree. When this phi equal to 50 degree, so this theta plus 50 by 2, that is 25, that is equal to 90 degree. Now the theta will be equal to 90 minus 25, that is 65 degree. Now this is equal to 2d, in place of 2 into d means here 0.91 angstrom, 0.91 into sine theta. So theta here is 65 degree, sine 65 degree, that is equal to n here is for the first order maxima, for the first order maxima n equal to 1. So this will be 1 into lambda, that is equal to lambda here. Now if I will calculate the value of lambda, then lambda equal to 1.647 angstrom. Okay, 647 angstrom. Now this is similar to, this is or near equal to 1.65 angstrom. Okay, now let us calculate for the de Broglie wavelength. Okay, this is for the nickel crystal, we have calculated this much. Now let us calculate for the de Broglie. So for the de Broglie wavelength, lambda equal to h by p, and this is equal to h by mb. Okay, h by mb, which is also equal to, we can write 12.27 divided by root over v, and this is angstrom. Okay, and also lambda equal to 150 divided by v whole root over angstrom. This is also in angstrom. These two relation, this is basically for the electron. These two relation are basically for the electrons. Okay, for the electrons. Now from here, the value of the lambda, that is in the de Broglie wavelength, this lambda equal to 1.667 angstrom. You can see that if you compare these two, the two value, that is lambda equal to 1.667 angstrom and this lambda equal to 1.65 angstrom, these are nearly equal. Okay, these two results are nearly equal. Now from this Davison-Germer experiment, when this electron is getting accelerated towards this nickel crystal, then it will get diffracted and it will reach to the detector, which is the movable detector, so that it can rotate in every possible direction, so that it can capture all the electron beam that is incident on this detector, so that the galvanometer attached to this detector, it can collect the every possible intensity of the electron or the maximum number of electron. It can show the deflection in the galvanometer. Okay, since it is a movable detector, so the detector can be placed in this circular scale at the different position, and also it can collect the number of, at a particular position it will show suppose at this position, and it is suppose at some time it is at this position, that is the detector position, it is suppose here. Okay, now if I will consider this is at this point, suppose this is the result is 1, this is at this point the result is suppose 2, and here suppose the result 3, that is the galvanometer will show different deflection at these 3 points. At this 3 point, that is when the movable detector when this detector will place at these three different positions, the galvanometer deflection will be different. So the maximum intensity it will collect, it will depend on the angle made by this electron, or the incident beam and the diffracted beam angle also depend on this. Is that clear to you? So we can say that here it will depend also on the electron acceleration, how the electron get accelerated just because of the high tension voltage source, or how the voltage source it is getting fluctuate. Okay, it is also depend on this voltage source. This is all about the Davisson-Germer experiment. So this is all for today. Thank you all. Jai Jagannath.